Hey friend, welcome to Healthy by Heather Brown. Do terms like mental health, intermittent fasting, and buzzy wellness words make you feel overwhelmed? If you don't know where to start with loving the life you already have and letting your good things grow until they become daily habits, I got you, mama. So join me as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved and redefine a new approach to health from the inside out. Think of this space as your girlfriend's group text with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. We promise to give you key takeaways that you can implement right away to pursue health in your mind, body, and soul because God made us that way. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. Welcome back to another episode of Healthy with Heather Brown. You guys, I'm so amped about today's guest. She is a friend of Matt Beaudreau, who we had on at the beginning of this season. So if you've not had a chance to listen to his episode, go ahead and do that. I'll link it in the show notes. But y'all, Katie from the Wellness Mama that we are having today is a mama of 6. She is one of the, I would call like, blogger OGs. She's one of the first people when I started getting into health and looking into it. Her website kept popping up when I Googled. So the fact that she's coming on today, like, you guys just get a pen and paper, get ready to take some notes. It's going to be awesome. So with all that said, let's dive in. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. And I, like you, am a huge fan of Matt. He's a phenomenal human who does phenomenal work. So very grateful he connected us.
Yeah, same here, Katie. Well, for anybody that hasn't followed you for a long time or is new to the health and wellness space, do you mind just sharing a little bit about how you got started in your wellness journey, a little bit about your kids, your family, just so they kind of know who you are? If you've been around here for long, you probably heard me talk about whole health, mind, body, and spirit. One way I try and take care of my triple threat triangle of embodied health is finding ways to reduce my toxic burden. EMFs are everywhere these days. And did you know that EMF radiation is one of the most common toxic exposures that we face today? I learned this on a podcast recently and thought, whoa, I need to learn some more. While we cannot escape EMFs, we can do things to reduce our exposures to them. My favorite way to do this is with the Life Harmony Energies EMF chip sticker for phones and computers. Life Harmony Energies products effectively neutralize harmful EMF radiation, ensuring a healthier living environment. You can get yours today at lifeharmonyenergies.com. That's lifeharmonyenergies.com.
My background was in journalism. My default with anything in life is to like, how do we get this back to first principles? How do we ask the right questions to start getting better answers? And started doing that just for my own health first, as I was trying to figure out what was going on with me. Why are we seeing the rise in this across the board, including in children? And as I started uncovering things, started writing about it, mostly to process it on my own, and discovered that there were many moms going through similar experiences, lots of people having their own health struggles and trying to find answers when the medical system wasn't able to give them any, or moms concerned with something going on with their kids. And so this beautiful community developed around that. And I realized and firmly believe to this day that moms are the most powerful force on the planet. And that when moms make changes and families make changes, that's when society makes changes. So I'm grateful every single day that I get to speak to all these other amazing moms who are really doing the groundwork of not just shifting that statistic for our kids, but really truly making, I think, lasting changes that will, go through several generations and beyond.
Oh my gosh, what a cool story. And so, Katie, I can't wait to talk more about some of the things you just said there, but will you tell everybody how many kids you have and maybe their ages?
Yes. So as after that journey began, I had 5 more kids. So I now have 6. And I also eventually was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and now I'm fully healed from Hashimoto's and no longer have it. So that was the health side of the journey. And then, of course, the motherhood journey is a lifelong one. So I'm still on that, but with 6 kids at home. Their ages 7 to 16 right now.
Okay, awesome. My 2 little boys, my oldest one just turned 8, and then my youngest one just turned 5. So they're just a little bit, I guess, right in the midst of your youngest one. So that's fun.
Fun ages. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. When right before we kicked off the podcast, we were talking about where we're based, and Katie's actually in Florida. And I was like, no way. I'm down there all the time from Alabama. So I was like, we'll have to meet up for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I would love to kind of dig into a little bit about what you said about the kids and life expectancy, because I think that we have seen, unfortunately, that kids and families as a whole are not getting healthier as time goes along. I'm assuming you read the article 16 to 17 years ago from what you said about your oldest.
Yep.
So I guess, Katie, how are you seeing that practically play out in our society? Since you're such a big researcher, why do you think so much of that is that we keep getting unhealthier? And what are you doing to combat that as a mom?
Yeah, I think a lot of really amazing experts have different analogies that all sort of center around the same idea, which is that at the end of the day, our bodies are extremely adaptable. They're meant to heal. They're meant to function optimally. And we also can handle a certain number of negative inputs, and our body knows what to do with that. But whether you want to use the bathtub analogy or the rain bucket analogy or whatever it is, eventually, no matter what you put in any kind of container, if it reaches the top, it's going to overflow. And there is that's where I feel like the genetic component comes in is when you get to that kind of overflow point, it might overflow into like rheumatoid arthritis, if that's what you're more genetically predisposed to, or thyroid issues, or whatever it may be. But I think we're just societally, we're seeing a lot more bombardment of all of those sort of maybe would be termed negative influences that we're all facing at a higher level. Not just, I mean, we know the statistics about ultra processed foods and that most kids are eating actually now 71% of their diet purely from ultra processed food, which the body doesn't easily get nutrition from at all, and also doesn't necessarily recognize as food. So you're actually expending a lot of bodily resources just to try to get those things back out of your body. So that's one factor. But also we're seeing EMF, which, and also I want to clarify before we get into this, like, I don't think any of these things on their own is overtly like harmful, bad if you ever encounter them. I think, like I said, the body's adaptable. I think it's when it's like the dose makes the poison, and we're getting so much of these things from so many angles that it helps to take an 80-20 approach and be aware of the input so we can make more informed choices, not from fear, but from a more informed place of moving toward optimal health. And so that's looking at things like what are we coming in contact with in our environment, not just things like plastics, but endocrine disruptors that are in most personal care products. That's obviously a bigger issue for women because the majority of us actually encounter hundreds of those a day in our personal care products. Babies are now born with hundreds of identifiable chemicals in their cord blood.
Oh my
So
gosh.
this is a huge rising problem. We're also just bombarded with artificial light at times when our body doesn't recognize that it should be daytime. And that messes with our circadian clock, which is sort of the master governor of the whole body. And it's like if you even just a couple nights of impacted sleep, not even just no sleep, but impacted sleep changes your blood sugar levels. It changes your cortisol levels. It changes how your body's able to respond to what would be normal stressors that you encounter in your environment. And so I think we're just seeing statistically a much higher number of things that our body's having to learn from, adapt from, and process. But the good news is, I say all the time on my podcast, at the end of the day, we are each our own primary healthcare provider. And while we can work with doctors and practitioners, and that's really helpful, especially when they have specific knowledge, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with us because we're the ones making the daily choices. And that's actually awesome news because that means we have already within our own power the ability to make changes that are going to help improve our body. And I know you talk a lot about kind of the mind, body, spirit, and how all of those are connected. And I think this is absolutely can never be overstated. But I think like the mindset piece comes into play a lot there too, because like I said, the body wants to heal. That is its natural state. In the autoimmune community, I often hear people use phrasing like, my body's trying to kill me or my body's attacking my thyroid. And I always like to just reframe that and say, like, no, if our bodies wanted to kill us, they could do it literally instantly before our next breath. Our body's always on our side. And it's really just an equation of figuring out like what things does my body not have that it needs, or what things is it getting too much of that it can't handle, and becoming friends with our bodies. And sometimes, to your point, like I know you talk about this, that's addressing the emotional side. There could be something unresolved emotionally that is actually physically changing our cortisol levels and actually physically keeping us in a sympathetic nervous system state where our body isn't able to get the messages to rest and digest and heal. So how do we address that? Maybe it's a mindset piece. Maybe it's how we're speaking to ourselves. And maybe if we can reframe like the questions I used to say, I used to have pretty bad questions internally. I would be like, oh, why is this so hard? Why can't I get better? How come I can't lose weight? And my body and my subconscious being on my side would give me the answers to the questions I asked. Like, oh, well, you have thyroid disease, or you have 6 kids, or you have whatever. And when I started asking better questions, I started getting much better answers from my body and my subconscious. And so I think it just highlights like all of those are so intricately connected. And I think we're also moving into a beautiful time for that, where there is much more mainstream awareness of how connected those pieces are. I know even me, I got into just the physical health world so compulsively for so long, thinking that was going to be the answer by itself. And it turns out it's an important piece, certainly, but it's not the only piece. And it wasn't until I integrated like the mind, body, spirit side that actually everything was able to move in a much better direction. And I was able to heal not just the physical stuff, but move into a much more mentally and spiritually healthy place as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like, everything you're saying. I'm like, there's so much wisdom in this. Like, how do I break down all the good nuggets? So let me just say, first of all, that I feel like as moms, we are just under a lot of stress. And so and unfortunately, what I hear from a lot of women is like, that's really great for you that like you can work out or you can do these things, but I just don't know how to do it when I literally am not getting enough sleep. And and I know how stressful it is in those newborn years of having babies when women aren't getting sleep because their newborns or their toddlers aren't allowing them to sleep and they're, seeing their body respond. I guess, do you have some non-negotiables that you could maybe encourage them in of like, even like, how do you change that mindset of like, I'm tired, I have this excuse, or like, how do I get rid of the baby weight? Why is my body not releasing it? Can you tell how you reframed your words to yourself as a mom in those scenarios?
Absolutely. And I will say too, for context, this was a journey for me. I did not like have this all figured out, especially when I had only newborns and toddlers and 3 kids in diapers. I certainly did not have it figured out. And I was in the kind of thick of the thyroid stuff at that point. And I remember vividly days where I was so like, I felt like my whole body was just so fatigued and tired that I would make sure my kids were okay, make sure there was nothing they could choke on, and fall asleep in front of the door so they couldn't get out and run in the traffic. So I understand how it feels. And I remember that so vividly. How the good news is, from a physiological side, when you have newborns and toddlers, and they are the reason that your sleep is interrupted, as women, we also get a cascade of hormones that actually serves a protective purpose. Not that it makes the lack of sleep any easier, but for me, that was helpful to understand, like, my body's not just going to deteriorate because I'm not sleeping perfectly. Of course, like, this is designed in, women have had babies throughout all of history. My body is trying to protect itself, but also understanding that, how can I be my body's friend in this process? When I understand that I still may not get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep at this phase of life, what can I do instead? And the good thing is, a lot of the things are simple and free and can become good family habits. And I'm a big fan of giving yourself teeny baby steps and holding yourself to the slow progression of baby steps. I know it's tempting, especially when you're trying to heal from something, to want to jump in and just radically change your whole life overnight, but you're much more likely to get exhausted and give up if you try to change everything at once. Whereas if you give yourself baby steps and you don't let yourself progress too quickly, you'll keep looking forward to the next steps. And I also remind women, like, the simple and free things are often the most impactful. And I know in the health world, it's so tempting to want to get like sucked into the next new fancy supplement or biohack or whatever it may be. And I think those all have their time and their place. But really, it's those free foundational things that set you up for success, even if you're going to add in the more complicated or expensive things. And as moms, especially, one that sounds so simple, and I think is often overlooked because it is so simple, is just that non-negotiable of getting morning sunlight within half an hour of waking up, even on a cloudy day, even if it's raining, even if I'm grumpy, whatever the case may be. So my flow chart of that is, I get sunlight before screens, I get sunlight before caffeine, and I also get protein before caffeine. That helps a lot for adrenals and hormones, especially in postpartum, because then you're sending signals of abundance into your body. Whereas caffeine, if you're already in a sympathetic state and you're stressed, I'm not going to tell new moms not to drink coffee. That would be insane. But try to get protein first and try to get minerals first, because those are 2 biological signals that you can send to your body that says, I'm safe, I'm nourished, there's an abundance of food, I'm not in a starvation situation, you don't need to change my cortisol patterns. And also, that light in the morning is a really powerful cue to your circadian rhythm that also sets the clock for when your melatonin production starts at night. So like I said, this one is often overlooked, but it's amazing how profoundly it can even impact things like your lab results when you do it, even for just 2 weeks in the beginning consistently. Most people notice a difference in their energy levels and their sleep. And if you're a new mom, bring your little ones with you outside in the morning. This will do the same thing to them, so they start making more melatonin at night and they sleep more easily. Same with the reverse of that would be, if possible, after sunset, just try to limit artificial light exposure as much as you can. I know it's not feasible to like have candles in our house and only have that and have fire with toddlers, obviously. But if you can, like, what I do is I have bright light bulbs in my ceiling of my house, and then the lamps in my house have amber bulbs that are no blue light. And at sunset, I just switch that. And there's another cool trick here, which is that this mimics nature. So in nature, we're getting bright blue light from above during the midpoint of the day from the sky. And that signals our body it's daytime. This is an alert, awake time. And then at night, you are like reddish lights at sunset. So that's eye level or below, or it might be a campfire historically. So you're going to want to get those non-blue, like dimmer lights from eye level or below. And that helps reinforce to your body we're moving into a sleep schedule. And I've heard from so many moms who just that change alone of like where the light bulbs are in your house really helps their kids be able to sleep earlier without a fight at night.
Wow.
Those are just simple. It's not even, you don't have to buy anything, just rearrange where things are in your house, get some morning sunlight. And I do think the like protein before caffeine and minerals before caffeine make a big difference in the morning.
That is huge. Let me ask you this, because we've had a few guests on that have talked about morning sunlight, and I've talked about how even if I just roll over in bed and I can't go outside because I don't have time before the school routine or whatever, the first thing I'm doing is just rolling over and opening the blind. So I can immediately look in the sunlight. And I mean, my routine is that I either pray or that I think of 3 things at least that I'm grateful for while I'm getting that morning sunlight. And I know in a perfect world, it probably would be a lot of sunlight in the morning, but what would you say is kind of like your minimum time frame where you're like, if you can get this amount of sunlight or this amount of the sunset light, what would it be? Hey mama, do you feel like you are surviving on chicken nuggets and goldfish and haven't stepped in a gym since college? Or maybe, on the other hand, you feel like you're checking every health box and are still hitting a brick wall? Well, I'm here to help you redefine what it means to be healthy from the inside out. I'm a former fitness instructor and everyday mom who is passionate about helping you create a beautiful life you freaking love. So I'm opening the doors to the Healthy by Heather Brown membership to the public and can't wait to walk alongside you and be your cheerleader. When you join, you'll be added to my exclusive Facebook group. You'll receive my Sunday reset training that will help you create promising, sustainable, healthy choices from the inside out, which will in turn lead to a more joy-filled life for busy moms. Live coaching and workout classes with yours truly. You asked and I listened. We'll talk about how to balance your whole health when you have kids and life get busy with school and activities. It includes grocery haul ideas and accountability as we all reset together each Sunday. There will be so much offered that you won't find anywhere else on the internet. Are you ready to take one step out of stress, shame, unhealthy boundaries, and fatigue and add healthy rhythms to the Hot Mess Express? When you're ready, I'll see you on the other side of the link in the show notes. I'm excited and ready to hold your hand and meet face to face.
Good question. So you will get some of the benefits still through a window. I'm also a huge fan on like, as soon as the sun's up, I want windows open and those daylight bulbs on. But if you're able to get outside, not through glass, or open the window and look out through the window, you get a much bigger effect. So indoor light, even when it seems very bright to us, might only be like 1,000 lux of light or below. Whereas outdoor light, even on a cloudy day, is many multiples of that. So this means even if you can only get outside for like 5 minutes, that's kind of the minimum effective dose. It does not have to be 30 minutes where you're grounded and like going for a walk or doing breathing exercises in the grass. It can literally be 5 minutes with a cup of water. And your only goal is like, I'm going to go out here, drink this cup of water to hydrate and think of things I'm grateful for. That's awesome habit stacking. And you've already got 3 wins in your day. And it took 5 minutes. And if bonus points, if you can get your kids to do it too, because like I said, it really will make a difference in how they are at bedtime as well.
Yeah, I love that. Those are really good tangible tips. One thing that Katie and I were talking about before the show is I told her more than likely her episode will come out when we're doing our like business relationship health. And so Katie, I'd love for you to share a little bit with me and with the audience. What are your business health routines? I think I've heard you say you work with your husband. Is that correct?
In the past, that definitely has been phases. Yes, for sure.
Okay. So tell us a little bit, I guess, about, because do you still homeschool or is that?
I do still homeschool. Yes. Thankfully, they're all at their ages. One of our core first principles with raising our kids is helping them to be autonomous and self-sufficient and honoring how capable they are. So I don't do things for them once they're capable of doing it themselves, which means now at their ages, we actually are all co-creating a family culture that I'm not doing everything. And I think that is a big key for moms. I know it's a very easy temptation to take on the emotional responsibility for everything and then manage it and make everyone do it. And then you're still the emotional source of that and they're helping you. I always encourage moms to reframe that because that was key for me, is like, it took me almost getting to the point of a nervous breakdown to learn this lesson, but I realized I can't do everything for everybody in my house and do all the jobs within my business and like all the obligations that I have, not even related to work or kids. I can't do 100% of all of those things and still like not have a nervous breakdown or exist as a person without an extreme amount of stress.
Right.
And so, but I had to like face in myself some things like, oh, I did have a control freak tendency. And I thought I could do everything within the business better than anyone else. Or I thought I had to do everything in my house because I was going to do it better than the kids would. And it took like some important, and I think really good humility to realize like, while I might be able to do certain things better than someone else, I certainly cannot do all of these things better than someone else could do them. And so how can I not just have people quote help me, but truly like bring my children into creating the culture of our home and let them feel ownership of it as well, and let them actually meaningfully contribute and honor that they did that. How can I do that with my work teams where we're building a team culture where everybody's actually moving toward a common goal? They're not helping me, that this is their mission too, and that they actually get to feel ownership of it and enjoyment of it and accomplishment when we're able to help people. And so that was a longer process to shift. But on a tactical level, I realized some of that could be solved with logistics and just solving for the right variable. So I think often it's like trying to solve for the variable of getting more stuff done. But with moms especially, we're incredible multitaskers. So what I realized when I dissected it was it's not actually everything I have to do, like getting those things done, that's causing me the stress. It's that I'm trying, like I said, to take on the emotional responsibility for all of this, remind everyone else about it, and it still be my emotional responsibility. And so how can I actually solve for the variable of less stress so I'm not managing all these open loops in my head 24/7? And that was it at home. That involved things like putting some structure in place around who was managing which parts of the kitchen at what time, when we were all doing laundry so that we weren't overlapping, but we all knew when laundry was going to get done. Meal planning so that I knew when I was going to go to the store. I knew what I was cooking. That avoided those like 4 p.m., like, oh, shoot, what am I going to defrost for dinner loops? So just solving for the tactical variables first. I realized then when I still got the same amount of stuff done, I just got it done with less stress. Mm-hmm. And at night, I felt like, okay, this is great. I feel fulfilled and accomplished, even if I feel tired. I feel like I helped people today. I feel like I got to spend time with my kids today. Like all the important things happened. And I feel like I feel accomplished, not just exhausted. So I think that there's a little bit of individuality there, just like there is with health, where every family has to figure out their own pieces of that. And every business has to figure out their own pieces of that. And it was probably a 2-year journey for me of the tactical putting systems in place and changing how I emotionally related to all of those things.
Oh, that is so good. Do you mind just sharing with us maybe, because I think that you brought up a good point that a lot of times your coworkers do actually end up even being your kids when they're at home and the workday's still going or your team needs you. How do you set up boundaries with the people that work for you and your team? Are any of them local or are they all remote? And then when you are needing to work, but your kids are home, is it that you're just saying mommy's going in the office to work, but if you get an interruption, how do you draw those boundaries in a way that you feel like is respectful to your kids, to your own sanity, and then also to your workplace?
That is a great question. So all of my Wellness Mama team is remote and they're all moms, which I love because I feel like that keeps the culture of like our mission is to support and love moms. That keeps that culture very strong because we are moms. And that part was an easier one, especially with them being virtual, of putting in and creating routine around these are the times I'm going to be on Slack. These are the times I'm going to handle emails. Podcasts happen on Monday. Like everything has a time and a place and a plan. And then my kids also got used to that schedule. So they know like mom's pretty much out of pocket all day Monday for podcasts. We pre-plan meals, activities. My parents help sometimes with running them. Like all of that is figured out logistically. I think the at-home stuff, I realized moms very much emotionally and energetically set the tone for the whole house. Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, as a small example, if I was feeling stressed or if I was feeling guilty for not being only 100% present with my kids all day, they sensed that. And then they actually like wanted more attention, or they felt like it changed the whole dynamic in our house. And so part of it is we have regular times with family check-ins where we sit down and make sure we have connection and we have times to talk about things. So there aren't hopefully like outstanding things that are actually like a legitimate problem for them. They don't feel like they have a container to speak about. I also got a tip from the positive parenting course that I loved, which was, modern society has kind of programmed us that we're supposed to spend 24/7 with our kids and entertain them and be their chef and all these things. And actually, not only is that probably not true, it's actually not psychologically healthy for them for us to take that role in their life. However, they do need a certain amount of one-on-one time with a parent in order to have a strong connection. But the amount of time that the studies actually showed shocked me. It was actually only 10 minutes a day per kid of without our phones, just focused one-on-one time doing what they want to do was enough to fill their cup enough that they felt connected and like they had a solid relationship. And I feel like that one shift alone often helps that connection to such a degree that it like diffuses a lot of the tension you would run into. Even if I'm taking work time, they still feel connected. We already got our time together. They know they can always come to me with a problem, but they don't feel that lack of connection. So that was one change that's also a non-negotiable for me, is that just focus time with each child independently that I try to even do in the morning. And then beyond that, just setting up family culture and expectations around sort of the energetic flow of the house at all those other times. And like the systems I mentioned earlier, when they have the autonomy to do most of the things they need to do, whether it's food, laundry, etc., and they know they need to do these things before they can go outside or watch a movie or whatever it is, they don't have to come ask those questions of me. When I had only toddlers, it was simple things like, I'm going to get non-breakable cups and I'm going to put them in the bottom cabinet so that they can get water on their own. Because right now I'm being asked to get water 800 times a day, which is a very reasonable request for a child to need to drink water. But how can I reduce my workload in getting them water and let it be a problem they get to feel excited about solving on their own? So small example, but that same principle applies even when they're teenagers. And so I think as we build that into our culture, I also realized I had to make an internal shift, because even once I was doing those things logistically, there was still a piece of me that felt guilty, because I did have that sort of modern belief, like, no, I'm supposed to be with my kids and entertain them all day long. And I'm not doing that. And it was like they sensed that. And when I was able to like delve into where that came from and unpattern it and hopefully develop healthier patterns, what I realized was, no, when I show my kids, like, I'm going to the gym for an hour because I am a much happier, more present mom when I work out and move my body, not only did they respect that and they were totally fine, it gave them permission to pursue the things that were important to them, not just movement and exercise. They were doing that anyway, but it gave them permission to say like, okay, it's not selfish if I want to work on an art project or if I want to go. And I think we have to model even more than we say. And I think for moms, that can be one of the toughest ones, is learning to model self-care, and not just self-care in the modern societal, like I took a bubble bath and went to the spa, but whatever those things are that actually refuel you and bring you joy. I think our kids actually, like, we owe it to them to show them prioritizing those things so that they have an example and permission to prioritize the things that bring them joy.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that that's one thing that I'm learning across the board. It's like, whether it's about doing my devotional or spending time in the Word. I used to only do it when my kids weren't around, but I'm like, no, I want my kids to see that this is an active part of my day and that it's part of refilling my cup, so that they'll want to replicate that in their own life. Same with my workouts. They know I'm going to burn boot camp at 8:30 in the morning after school drop off, or in the summers. They're going to see that happen. And it is just such a cool responsibility, but also it can feel weighty that there's some insane number. It's something like 70% of children who see their mom work out and be active will want to replicate that as they grow up. And to me, that is just like, oh my gosh, what a cool gift and tool. But mama, you have to take care of yourself, because we talk about this all the time, but you cannot pour from an empty cup, spiritually, mentally, or physically. And so all these things that Katie is saying, it's like, we talk about this all the time. It's so cool to hear it from the research and and like a different perspective of how you run it in your household as well.
Yes. And just as a caveat too, like a reminder of that baby step approach, because the mom I was when I was in the thick of the thyroid stuff and had like all babies and toddlers, like I could not have jumped straight from that to like now where there's schedules and routines and I go to the gym every day. That was going to be an impossible jump. And if you are coming from a place where you're in healing mode, like honor the time of healing in your body, like give your body the grace to heal. You might be in a phase of life where you do not need to go do hard workouts every day or 3 times a week. I had a whole year-long period where I was like, I'm going to listen to my body. And all I did was walk occasionally. I would walk, I would gently swim, or I would spend time in the sunshine. But I didn't do high intensity. I wasn't lifting weights. I had to listen and learn, like, I need to become my body's friend and I need to honor its need to heal right now. So that doesn't mean your self-care might not be like CrossFit in the beginning or ever. And that's totally fine.
Ever, yeah.
Find the things that bring you joy. And even if that is like, you're going to curl up in a chair and read a book that you love, or you're going to just go sit outside and breathe and drink water, or make yourself like a sparkly drink or something that's fun, and just find those moments to recharge, and don't put the pressure on yourself to do the intense stuff until you have the bodily reserves to want to do the intense stuff.
Yes. So, Katie, I know we're quickly running out of time, but I have a couple more questions for you. So, if as we're talking about this, we often talk about the Sunday reset around here. Sunday's the day that I reset on my life. I'm figuring out my meal plan. I'm figuring out how I'm getting in my protein. I'm figuring out, kids' schedules, all the things. And by the way, I know Katie's mentioned meal planning several times. So I will link my meal planning ebook down in the show notes and my membership where you get it for free. So if y'all want to check that out, just scroll down below the podcast, read those show notes, and I'll link to Katie's resources as well. To get back to the question, the question is, Katie, how do you and your family reset each week or each month or each day? I just love to hear your take on resetting.
Yeah, I love that. Well, so I would say the habits we build in, there's really cool research. At least three or four times a week, hopefully a lot more, we have family meals together. And again, with the data on this is super fascinating. Even just that minimum sort of 3 meals as a family together that you're making at home, and hopefully you're not on your phones the whole time while you're eating, that alone is meaningful enough to shift the statistics, to reduce the risk of obesity in children by half, to reduce the risk of mental health problems in children by half. And we all have to eat anyway. So that's one, like, I feel like for all of us, that's like a recharge that it's just like almost a daily habit at this point. Like you, I try to take like sort of family day that's either Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, and we do something that doesn't have to be structured. It could just be we play outside or we go to the beach or we like go somewhere fun, but just to get a little bit of that extra connection on the weekends, especially. And then for me personally, as a sort of like a bodily recharge, I've learned like if I'm going to work out at a high level, which I want to do right now, so I need to support my body in that, and I'm going to run this business and I'm running kids around all the time, like how do I 80-20 this to make sure I always have the physical energy to be able to execute all that? And for me, that's things like workouts, I feel like actually do give me energy. So those become a priority, but also I prioritize both financially and time-wise to get like pretty intense, like muscle and body work a couple times a week if I can.
Yeah.
And that I feel like really helps with recovery. And also just that's like a time my brain can turn off. I'm relaxing, I'm breathing, I'm in my body, reconnecting. So that helps a lot. And then I think often as moms too, it's like making the space for those little moments at the various ages of our kids. Like I find some of the most fulfilling moments for me as a mom might be early morning conversations with one of my daughters who gets up super early. If I'm up early enough and I got enough sleep, I get to have that one-on-one time. And that's when she's most likely to open up. Or another daughter, I started coaching high school track so I could have more one-on-one time with her. So maybe that's like we're pole vaulting together. Or my son, who's older, my oldest, he's now in that kind of like wolf sleep phase where they stay up late and sleep late. So if I'm able to stay up late and we drink herbal tea together, that's when he's most likely to open up. So it's just finding those little connection points of spontaneous connection with our kids. I feel like those are the most fulfilling. And I am aware of keeping everything else in check enough that like the busyness of life doesn't ever take over to the point that I miss those.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think those are really amazing resets. And I love how you gave specific examples with each of your kids. When you think about how you de-stress from work and mom life and being a wife, all the things, what would you say are like your top 3 things that you're doing to de-stress? I heard you say, I think the massages, and I would assume maybe the morning light. Is there anything else that you would sprinkle in there?
Yeah, for sure. Those would be on the list. Like I said, I think the morning light is a tip everybody can do. For me personally, probably it would be, I have a routine once in a while where I'll go to bed early, like lock my door. My kids know mom's done for the night. And I'll sometimes do things like red light therapy, or I do a lot of breath work at night. We didn't get to get into this in depth, but if you think about it in kind of like a triage perspective, everybody wants to be so focused on what we eat. But we actually can go for a very long time without eating. You can go weeks to months, arguably, before you could die from not eating. You can only go a few days without water. So water's, I would argue, more important. Like if you had to triage these things, water is more important than food. Air is more important than water because you can only go a few minutes without air. And our breath is such a powerful tool to tell our nervous system different things. So just like you can do rapid breathing to like increase adrenaline if you need it for a particular activity, you can use your breath to signal different nervous system states to your body. And so even just making it a habit of like 5 minutes before bed with different breathing patterns, whether it be as simple as box breathing or a little bit more complicated with like 4-7-8 breathing, that sends a very clear signal to your nervous system that you're safe. And so I try to make time for breath work often because I feel like it's the reset button on my nervous system. And it's also a great intervention. If I feel my stress levels rising during the day, I can take 5 minutes and just go breathe. And my kids are now used to that. I actually learned this by trial and error with my kids. But, a lot of times moms will try to put kids in timeout if they're upset or having big emotions, which I'm not a fan of for a lot of reasons. But what I learned is much more effective is to put yourself in timeout without any anger, without raising your voice. If there's like conflict, I'll often say, I'm going to go in my room and breathe for 5 minutes and take a break so that I can be calm. And I would love to come back and talk to you in 5 minutes when I feel calm, and hopefully you feel calm. But that way I'm modeling the behavior of like, take a break, take a breath, calm your own nervous system, not trying to force them to do it by isolating them, which might actually feel worse to them.
For sure. Do you mind? I've done like some things on here where I'll have them take 3 deep breaths, hand on the heart, hand on the belly, but I'm not familiar with the term box breathing. Do you mind walking us through that before we go? Is that okay?
Yeah, I would love to. I'll give you a primer of both of them. Another quickest tool I'll give you kind of in order would be the physiological sigh. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
So this is a double deep inhale through the nose and a slow exhale through the mouth. So you're going to inhale through your nose till you think you can't inhale anymore. And then you're going to inhale a little bit more. So like, and then you're going to slowly exhale through the mouth. And that is like an immediate nervous system reset. Box breathing is also, it almost has like a meditative function because there's a counting element, but it's just like it sounds. You're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. So you would be like in, hold for 4, and then and hold for 4 at the bottom. And even if you just do like 3 of those, you'll feel your kind of like shoulders relax and your nervous system will downshift. Ooh. And a little bit more complicated one, but this one I would say is probably arguably the most effective, is 4-7-8. So the science behind this is if you inhale for longer than you exhale, your body on average gets a signal of stress, like we're in an activity or something's going on, pay attention. If you exhale longer than you inhale, your body gets the message like, okay, this is a safe time, we're relaxed. So for that one, you would inhale for a count of 4, hold for 7 seconds at the top, and then slowly exhale for a count of 8. And that one I love to do right before sleep. I don't think I've ever made it to 10 of those in a row before I was asleep. It's that powerful for the nervous system.
Oh my gosh, how cool. Well, I'm like, that's a great takeaway. I was furiously taking notes over here. I'm going to try it tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear how it goes.
For sure. Well, Katie, let everybody know where they can find you and tell them about your podcast and anything you have coming up you want people to know about.
Yeah. So wellnessmama.com is the hub for everything online. The podcast is there. It's the same name. Also my physical products that I created for families like hair care, oral care, those are all linked there as well. And also on social media everywhere, I'm just Wellness Mama. And I would love for people to say hi. My whole mission is truly just to connect with and help nurture moms and families and community. So I'm very grateful for opportunities like this and for all the amazing, incredible women I get to talk to every day.
Well, you're a joy, and it was such a blessing to have you on today. And I'm so thankful, like I said, that Matt connected us. So everybody try those breathing techniques. And if you will do us a favor and screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, tag me and Katie, and let us know if you tried one of the breathing techniques, either box or 4-7-8, and then maybe encourage your followers to do the same. I think that could be really such a powerful tool that you're then spreading out to other mamas to help them know how to reset their nervous system as well. So with all that said, Katie, thank you again for being here. You're amazing. And y'all have a beautiful day. I'll see you next Tuesday. If y'all think I'm a little crazy, just wait till my favorite guest joins me in the Marriage Corner. It's my hubby, Eric. All right, welcome back to the Marriage Corner. So excited to have Eric back. And this is actually a little bit different setup, I would say, because we actually are recording on Zoom for the first time. So Eric, how's it feel being an official podcast guest on a Zoom?
Well, it doesn't really feel like the Marriage Corner. I'm not by your side. It's not as cozy over here. But I think the idea remains the same.
Exactly. Speaking of cozy, I'm really excited about your topic that you came up with for today.
Thank you. So I thought this would be a fun marriage corner. And are you familiar with what's called a snake draft, Heather?
No, I literally, you said something like that earlier, and I was like, I don't know. I think that was a typo. Like, I don't know what a snake draft is.
So I would say it's more common amongst males. It's usually used during the fantasy football drafts. And the way it works is usually you have, however many people in your draft. And let's say you have 10 people. And so the first person will pick second, third, all the way up through 10. Well, the person that picks 10th then gets to pick the first pick in the next round. So he would get two picks back to back. With two people, it's a little bit different in that, let's say, and I'll be generous this time and I'll let you have the first pick of the draft.
Thanks.
And so you'll pick first, I will pick second and then third, and then you will pick fourth and then fifth. So it'll kind of go back and forth like that a little bit. But the snake draft, the topic for the snake draft is it is your favorite things about fall or the best things about fall.
Okay,
So I
so
asked you to come up with 6 items. So there's 6 rounds to this draft. So you have 6 picks of your favorite things or the best things about fall. And you're on the clock with the first pick of the best things of fall snake draft.
amazing. I feel like the women of the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast are learning so much right now about guys' football draft. So thank you for that education, Eric.
More than welcome. And if any other ladies have any questions about fantasy football drafts, always happy to help. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions.
Burning questions, exactly. Well, okay, so my first answer for the best things about fall is 100% going to
Pick
be
pick
oh,
number one.
My pick number one
With the first pick in the 2023 fall draft, Heather selects
leaves. Did I do that right?
fall leaves. Yes.
Fall leaves. So you said I was on a clock. Is there like a timer involved here? How does this work? Do I get
So
30 seconds?
typically, yes, like there's about 30 seconds before your pick. You have 30 seconds to make your pick. You made that in plenty of time,
Oh,
but
great.
you can discuss your pick for longer than 30 seconds. But fall leaves, it's an obvious number one choice, I feel like. But
Obvious number one choice. Yes, I love the fall leaves. In fact, as soon as I got out of bed this morning, I was like, man, Eric, it just makes me so happy to open our blinds in our bedroom and to see the sunshine just like coming through the leaves and showing the colors of red and yellow. It just like makes me so happy inside. It makes me really grateful that the Lord gave us this changing of the seasons. So I was driving up to the summit and it looked so beautiful with all the leaves changing colors here in Birmingham, Alabama at the summit and along the interstate. And I got to lunch, and Eric and I haven't even gotten to catch up about this yet, but I went to lunch with some of the girls and we were talking about how you kind of hit that 3 o'clock slump. And Eric, I know you and I were just talking about how you're feeling a little bit of the afternoon slump because you didn't really sleep much last night from your overnight call. But I was telling one of the girls, and Eric, I think you need to try some of my Elevate. And I don't know if I've even talked with you about it yet, but basically you take 2 pills, it's clean, it's all natural, and it doesn't give you that same like crash or jittery feeling like after you've had coffee or interfere with your sleep or anything like that. But I was telling this mom, it just makes you feel more like alert and with it. And we all know as moms that, and bless it, Eric, I'm like, you probably feel this at work though too. But as moms, it's like you finish maybe your work day or your day of doing all the things, and then at 3 o'clock, it's like go time for round 2 of momming when you're like having to do homework and shuttling kids to soccer or doing all the things, prepping for school for the next day. And so I was telling her that she really needs to try out this Elevate because it has helped me so much when I hit that afternoon slump, and then I'm not having to drink coffee so late in the day. So anyway, if you guys haven't checked out Elevate yet, I'll link it down below. And Eric, I definitely think I need to get you a couple of capsules before we go to the soccer field tonight.
yeah, that sounds amazing. I definitely think I need some Elevate in my life. I definitely struggle with that 3 p.m. slump. I know we talk about a lot of times that you're more of a night owl. Well, I'm definitely more of a morning person and feel more productive in the morning, but usually around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I need a little pick me up, a little something to help me focus. So I think that Elevate would be good.
Yeah, for sure. So all that to say, I had a great day at lunch with the girls. It was framed by my fall leaves. So my number one pick is fall leaves. Eric, what do you got?
All right. So with the second pick in the 2023 fall draft, best things of fall draft, you know, I think I have to go with, we're going to knock off the heavy hitters here first. I have to go with bonfires and s'mores with friends.
Oh man, is it bad if that's on my list too? Does that mean I have to like bump that out? How does the snake draft work?
Well, I did want to talk with you about that,
Okay.
whether or not we could use other people's answers, but I think we have to say once it's out, you can't use it anymore. I think you need to come up with something different. So,
Ooh.
I mean, fall leaves was number one on my list as well too, and I can't use that anymore. So, bonfires, s'mores. I love making a bonfire. We're actually doing that tomorrow with some friends, making some s'mores. Um, I love watching the kids make s'mores, and hopefully they don't burn themselves.
Hopefully
But
Finn doesn't eat 4 and make himself sick.
quintessential fall activity, bonfire and s'mores. Number 2 pick. I think it's the easy go-to answer.
Yes, and you're number 3. You go number 3, right? In that house snake.
That's right. That's right.
3.
You're
Boom.
catching on to the snake draft. So this is the second round, and so the first pick in the second round of the fall draft, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. All right.
Okay.
So one of the best things about fall is that don't have to put the air conditioner on, don't have to put the heat on. Right now, we've been going on for about a week and a half. No AC, no heat. Energy bills are going down, and I'm loving life.
So for you, it's like the budget saving part of that, like no AC, no heat, right?
Yeah, I really don't want the windows open because the ragweed will get in and the boys will start coughing even more. But yes, I love saving some money. So
I love.
no AC, no heat for about 2 to 3 weeks. It's perfect.
I love it. Okay, so that was your number 2 pick, is that right?
Yep. So this is your second round pick, overall number 4.
Okay, my second round pick is definitely going to be pumpkins. And I just want to clarify, I do not like pumpkin spice flavored things. I purely mean pumpkins. When I went to Trader Joe's today after lunch with the girls, I got more pumpkins, which we don't need, but they make me happy and they make the boys happy. And so I just love filling our home with faux pumpkins, real pumpkins, all the pumpkins decorating our front porch. Love me some pumpkins.
I think that's another great answer. Um, I was going to say, initially I wanted to do the snake draft of the most overrated things about fall, but I thought that was going to get a little bit too negative. So, just switch it up to the best things. But I do want to go on just a brief tangent. I was going to say one of the most overrated things about fall has to be pumpkin patches and everything that comes with a pumpkin patch, the overcrowdedness, the paying $20 to go get your own pumpkin and carry it through this farm. Everyone's coughing because the ragweed's out, and overrated fall activity, pumpkin patches. I'm sorry, folks. It's bad.
Okay, well, I would have to disagree with you on that one, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But Eric, how do you feel about apple picking? I kind of want to try that as a family.
Well, it's really funny you mentioned that because on my overrated list, number 2 was caramel apples.
No.
Overrated. So overrated. They're incredibly difficult to eat. You give one to a kid, it's going to be a sticky mess. They're going to complain. They're usually not as good as you think they are. And and if you buy it from one of those fall festivals or pumpkin patches, you're paying another $12 for one caramel apple.
Through the nose.
It's a racket. I'm saying overrated. All right,
All right,
but
fine.
I do agree. General pumpkins is a great pick. I love carving pumpkins with the boys. I do love the way they look. I love lighting the candle for Halloween. Very good pick. All right,
Thank
so
you.
you're up again. This is your third round pick of the fall draft. Best things of fall draft.
Okay, well, I know we're quickly running out of time, so I'm going to go speed round on these, like 15 seconds. I'm going Halloween lights. I love walking around our neighborhood or driving around the neighborhood. Much like Christmas lights, our neighborhood goes bananas for Halloween. So throwing the boys in their Halloween pajamas and getting in the car and driving around and looking those, or walking the neighborhood at night, I love it because it gives us great quality time. And the boys actually want to walk with me because there's Halloween lights to behold.
Well, we're definitely taking items off of each other's list because that was on my list as well too. But I have to scratch it off. Another great pick. I think the draft is it's fairly strong right now. All right, so I've got 2 back-to-back picks now. This is my 4th pick, and so we mentioned you don't like pumpkin spice, but I'm gonna put the pumpkin spice donut from Dunkin' Donuts as my 4th round pick as one of the best things of fall. It is a great donut, and I highly recommend it to anybody in the fall. Have a
Wait,
little
have
with
you
a little
gotten
cup of
this
coffee. Not
this
yet, but
season? Oh,
I'm ready.
he's ready for it. I'm like, this is not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. Eric just loves it that much.
I mean, if Dunkin' Donuts wants to send a couple dozen donuts this way, I wouldn't be disappointed. But yeah, that's my number 4, my 4th round pick, and my 5th round pick. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be on your list, but this is very appropriate for me. My 5th round pick has to be fall golf. There's nothing better than fall golf. The leaves are changing. It's not hot. You get out there with a couple guys, and specifically when the sun is setting in the fall, you're out there on the golf course, you're finishing up your round. And for me, there's really not a whole lot of things that are better than that. So
Oh,
fall golf is my 5th
I thought
round pick.
I thought you were gonna say you crack a pumpkin beer after the last fall.
Well, also overrated pumpkin beer. I always tell myself, oh, this is going to be the year I'm going to find this great pumpkin beer. And I always go and buy a 6-pack, and they always let me down. So another overrated pumpkin beer.
Well, if you are listening to this and you have a pumpkin beer that you think is beyond and like wouldn't make Eric, bleh about it, let us know. We always love hearing a good random pick like that. Is it my turn next, Eric?
Yeah, you've got 2 picks back to back. I think this is your 5th and 6th round. These are your last 2 picks, and I've got one more after that.
Okay, last 2 picks. So I'm also trying to think of things that you wouldn't say, but I'm gonna go with kids, the clothes of fall. I love layers. I love the vests. I love the flannels. I love the kids' Halloween pajamas and like the pumpkin pajamas. I just think for females, this is a really fun time of year to get to dress up and do different looks with your clothes, and it's legging season, holla. So that would be my number 5 pick in the snake draft.
Well, I will say that was definitely not on my list, so that's good.
And then I have to do another one, which you took them now. Okay, can I just say the cooler temps? Because you said to save money with the cooler temps and the budget on, the AC and the heater, but you didn't say specifically that you love just the cooler temps, the temp dropping.
I mean, I think you can do better than that, but I mean, I'll allow it unless you can think of. Is there any like certain food item that you just love in the fall, or a traditional type thing that maybe you eat or drink during a football game or something along those lines that just is
I mean, I do
associated with fall?
I will say I love apple cider, and Eric sometimes will spike our apple cider or make us like a hot toddy, and I do really enjoy that, especially around a fire. So that is probably something like a beverage or food thing that I really enjoy in the fall, or football food. You're right. There's lots of great things about food and drinks in the fall.
I think the football food is a great fall for your last pick. You got your chili, you got your casseroles,
Fritos.
Your Fritos. You're going into Thanksgiving. People can smoke on their smoke pork, ribs, whatever. I think that's pretty
Solid pick.
It's a pretty solid pick. And for my last pick, I actually think this one could have been moved up a little bit in the draft order, but fall at the beach is the best. Whether you're going any beach you go to in the fall, the crowds are down. There's not as much humidity. You don't have to worry about getting a reservation at a restaurant. And I just think fall is the best time to go to the beach. And I think that is a solid final pick of the draft.
Eric, I give you major props on that one. That is 100%. Like October is my favorite month of the year to go to the beach, and so I'm really disappointed in myself I didn't come up with that. So I'm glad you did us a solid and got it in our top draft pick.
Did you have any other honorable mentions just before we go?
I did have arts and crafts with the boys. I really love decorating with them for Halloween and fall, and that's just something that we don't do, I feel like, year round all the times, and they really get into it. So that would be my honorable mention.
I also had the fall leaves, obviously number 1, but specifically I love the hikes that we do as a family in the fall, specifically at Moss Rock here. And I just love, walking down by the creeks, the leaves falling, the light just kind of shining through. That's one of my favorite things. And obviously, you got Thanksgiving, but I think that's kind of in a separate category of its own. But I do love Thanksgiving. I think other than Christmas, it's my second favorite holiday.
Eric, we got to do a draft pick on favorite Thanksgiving food.
Oh, Thanksgiving foods. Yes. All right. Keep that in mind. That's a great idea.
I
We'll
will.
snake draft that.
Yes. So we've quickly run out of time. Eric, any final closing thoughts before we head on out?
No, I think that is the list of the best things of fall in 2023. So anybody wants to reference that, that is the list. So I'm
Yep.
very, very proud of our answers.
I am too. Way to go, babe. I'm giving you a high five. All right. Well, you guys tell us your favorite fall things. Leave us a review. Leave us that 5-star rating. It means the world to us. It truly helps us out if you enjoyed this episode. And we will see you back next Tuesday on the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast. Have a beautiful fall crisp day.